Hey, it's Penny here. And in this episode, I introduce Glenda Barber. Glenda is a very heart-centered, compassionate soul who assisted me on my team for a few months while she laid the groundwork and the foundation to create her own coaching and hypnosis program. In this episode, we share our philosophies about the importance of having a compassionate and heart-centered practice. Join me now for this episode of Design Your Destiny. You have come to the place where you can learn to harness the power of intention, to create subconscious beliefs that serve you, and to gain insights that allow you to create a life, personally and professionally, that you desire. This is the place where you leverage your subconscious mind and design your destiny. Join me now, your host, Penny Chason. Hello, all of my joyful souls out there. This is Penny back with another episode of Design Your Destiny, and today is a very special episode. All of you hear me talk about growth and how growth can be uncomfortable, and we go through levels of growth and how there are more layers to our own onion to peel. And I've talked about how I've been going through a bit of that growth. As a matter of fact, I've been going through so much of that growth that things are changing here in the office. And one of the things that is changing is that I am bringing on someone to my team who has just as much heart, just as much passion for the life-changing transformation that the process that I use can create in someone's life. That is the one thing that's one of my core drivers, is to get people actual change in their life. When I first became a hypnotist, I took a basic certification. And when I got out, I was able to hypnotize people. I was able to read scripts. But when I had clients who had issues that were tied to emotion, that were tied to subconscious patterns and belief, it was difficult to shift them. And it set me on a path of seeking something more in-depth, more insightful to add to my practice. And the process that I discovered and then became trained in and then became certified as a trainer in, because I believe in it that much. When I began to see people's transformations, it changed who I was and my purpose and my values. And to just touch on those values, my values here, the name of the company is actually Genesis Hypnosis, even though I brand under myself these days. But the core values of the company are compassion, gratitude, prosperity, and responsibility. I want everyone to go out there and to be able to prosper. I have a sense of responsibility around how I deliver services. We're compassionate, and I'm grateful for every client and potential client who comes across my path, because you give me the opportunity to change and grow. And I feel like the wonderful soul that I'm bringing onto my team embodies a lot of those same values. She is someone who, just like myself, has four-legged. She has a dog family. She's hot air balloon. She has swam with manatees. She has led an exciting and a productive life. And for most of her life, she has been on a path of healing. As a matter of fact, she was very consciously aware of people in her space even before she really understood what an empath was. And who I would like to introduce you to right now is Glenda Barber. Glenda, thank you for being a part of the team, and share with everyone a little bit about yourself.
The first words that I heard you say on the course were, "Would you like to do hypnosis with me?" And my heart, I was thrilled and excited and nervous as heck. I have taken training this past year in hypnosis and NLP with someone who has a PhD and is extremely astute in her own right. And she's an author. And in addition, I knew that when I finished her course, I felt excited. I did my hours, and I was getting, and again, not me, but the process allowed me to get wonderful healing results from other people on the platform that I was working on. And then I finished that, and I knew I was missing something. I was missing some skills to see something through if somebody had a lot of blocks and had trauma. And just for self-esteem. Anyway, the point was, tell you about me. Oh, goodness. I guess if I tear up, it's because I feel grateful as heck to be able to make the transition from the work I've been doing into what it is I feel called to do right now, which is to continue to be of love and service, but in a different way. And I believe that's something I've always done, but it's changing in its envelope. The skills of the particular course I'm taking now has a bit more of a process. And the process is very clear and fluid to help take somebody through some of the things I've already been trained in, but a much more fluid, systematic, comforting, supportive, and everything is talked about upfront, to dissipate anybody's, concerns, their fears. And if they choose to proceed in any kind of healing capacity, they're well versed before they choose it. They know what to expect, or at least they have a real good idea and they feel quite comfortable. And then we enter into a sacred space of spending that time together and seeing what happens for them. And usually it's pretty, and golly, what questions would you have of me, Penny? That might be a way to go forward.
You mentioned that sacred space of healing. Share with people what that means for you, where you see yourself in their journey of transformation as you take them through that process.
Loving, caring space to provide a supportive environment and be present to someone. Help facilitate what maybe they don't hear, to help them and be supportive of their own healing. And coming out the other side, sometimes I know through my experience, I was often unaware of just exactly what I may have received until you start living in a different way and reacting a little differently and pleasantly, being a bit happier, smiling a bit more, being more present in your life, showing up differently. And your whole life changes when you are different from the inside out. And maybe I'm speaking to you, have more joy, more laughter, and church shooting. Just the simple things mean more, and you make more time for them. So you end up changing your life dramatically. And often, our environment changes dramatically too as a result, which does nothing but mirror back to it's about, a magnet that brings more in. And at the same time, our life changes fully. And if I can bring any ounce of that through my own seeking and my own healing to the table for clients, but in this capacity as a hypnosis, consulting hypnosis, I'd be thrilled. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think it's so important to be able to connect with what it is that you're bringing clients through. The majority of people who, in my experience, and at least the people I know, the majority of people who become hypnotists are people who've been on their own healing journey and have experienced what it is like. But I'm going to go a little woo here, audience. I put out into the universe very specific request for who I wanted to be a part of my team. And one of those requests was that the individual would already be familiar with what we refer to as TCP. 2.5 years ago, I joined Jim Fortin's transformational coaching program. And not only has that program changed my life, it has changed how I perceive the human condition. It has changed how I interact with my clients. It has up-leveled my practice and my skills within hypnosis dramatically. And I put out into the universe that I wanted someone with that same awareness who had learned those same skills. Because when I joined Jim Fortin's program, it's not going to be funny because there are a lot of us in the same place who have worked with Jim, is that you find out about him like 2 or 3 days before, and the energy and just the awareness is like, oh my God, who is this person? I have to work with them. I never heard of personal coaching, life coaching, transformation coaching. What is this coaching stuff? And I'm sitting here, and as Glenda and I have we've known each other in the coaching program, but as we've really gotten to know each other, I find out she was in the same place. She heard about him 2 or 3 days before. How has that influenced the way that you approach just people in general, your understanding of who they are, where they are, and how to move them through what they're dealing with?
Yeah, how does it help me? Good golly, it was exactly as she said, 2 days before. I honestly have had my head in the sand for the last 30 years, not in a bad way, but with my head down working in 2 different job careers that I've loved immensely. It was very relative to the now. I spent time in nature for 20 years. I spent time doing body work around, holding space, but in lots of different ways. But I had disconnected through a couple of traumas to a small degree from my living as actively in life as I can. That's okay. I needed to go there because now I'm here. And all that meant was I heard, honestly, it's like you read my own script of what happened when I joined the transformational coaching program with Jim. Strictly, I think the day to close for his program when I first did my first go round was within a day or two. I signed up and was accepted as one of probably his last people. I had never heard of coaching. I had heard of having a swimming coach. My gray hair, I obviously haven't kept up with the times. I had the skills to be able to do what it was I was doing. I loved life. But what I can bring to the table is experience in many different things, helping people to not sit in their trauma, not sit in their lack of self, for whatever reason that they're not knowing what that is, or they might like themselves but not have the wherewithal to be able to maintain. And again, I'm no different than somebody else. I'm going to have my own challenges, but even yet, it's been shown to me how to live, to be reminded if I didn't know already, how to work at building those muscles of habits, of different skills, of how I want to show up in my own life. Because only then can I bring that to the table and meet somebody like yourself on the other side of the screen and speak to those to help them come forward. So I'm basically a compassionate soul. I can bring that to the table very easily. I can hold space for somebody without judgment. And I've done that for years. Those are just qualities I really never capitalized on because I wasn't conscious of that as a natural ability. And I do it well, even to the point where a background in hospice care, being with people that transition, that was easy for me, and that's not bragging. That was just, it was a matter of fact, easy. It was just that simple. And I had the great ability to be able to sit with my father more recently. It's one of the greatest gifts I could give back. What does that do for me? Just reaffirmation. That's all I'm trying to say, of holding space for someone without judgment, being full of heart. And it fills me up to be able to do that for someone. If I can take the skills that I've more recently developed with TCP, with your certification program, because the skills of the process have already deepened what I know I can bring to the table for skills. And in that process, and being able to explain it to someone easily and make them comfortable, if they choose. And even if they don't choose, it's to inform them about what can be, as a seeker, possibilities to choose for modalities to help heal themselves. Because they do it themselves. I just show up to the process. But the process in which you teach and that you use in your business is something that I feel quite happy to have come in contact with because of the process. And the process is systematic, it's repeatable. And from my background, maybe that's something to speak to, because as a seeker, I was extremely right brain right from childhood. And what I mean by that is I felt my way through the world and just listened more than engaged, because I watched and I learned that way. But I didn't know that is taking that to school, where you have to be more left brain and, the square hole, in the round peg, let's say. Well, that was me until I learned, and it was more recently with a coaching program, that I learned we can be 2 different types of people. And I'm the big thinker and, thinking. And so I'm not so good at the structure. So if I can help me understand how to do the structure part, to integrate this knowingness in the woohoo, we'll call it. But the process is there. It's structured. It's easy to follow. I'm going to be well-versed and trained. And I already felt I had a good hold on a heart level, how to be present for someone. So between the two, this process of life of how to do things different that TCP has given some tools, I can bring those skills to the table to articulate what I may have innately known, but know how to help somebody else if they're like me. I didn't know how to structure a new habit. I didn't know how to get there to be successful congruently going forward, to be systematic, to show up for me. And I'm still no expert, but I'm a lot better at it.
Yeah, you said a lot of things there that are important. And one was that, you can work with people free of judgment. And that is so important because can be a vulnerable process for people. It depends on what brings someone into our space. And to be able to sit there, to listen, to understand without judgment is so important. I'm not here to tell my clients how to get better. I'm here to guide them on a journey where within themselves they uncover and restore exactly what it is that they need to heal. No matter how small or big that quote unquote trauma is, it's one of the things that I've done a podcast episode on before, is that we don't decide what our trauma is. Our emotional state decides what's going to feel traumatic to it. Our mind decides based on a whole host of factors. So when people get into comparison around their trauma, this happened to me. Oh, yeah, well, that happened to me. And you know what? None of it means anything. All that matters is your inner state. And where this all starts is to recognize where our thinking is. And a lot of times we don't realize that our thinking is tied to our beliefs and patterns in our lives, because that's where those thoughts arise from. We perceive what's going on around us, and our mind compares it to what we know, what we believe, the things that we've encountered in our life. And these things generate thoughts. And then sometimes, well, actually, all the time, our mind can run a program under the surface we're not aware of. Glenda mentioned how, when she was feeling her way through life and how earlier she had those traumas, and she stayed busy to move past that. And so many people do that. What we're doing is we're distracting away, whether it's eating too much, drinking too much, working too much, addicted to exercise. I mean, anything and everything can become a distractor so that we stay busy, so that we're not aware of what our mind is running under the surface, because it can be uncomfortable. And these are the kinds of things that we specialize in, as we can help you to uncover what's running underneath the surface and just correct the misperceptions behind it and let go, so that you can have focus, presence, and joy in your life. Glenda is up and running. She is ready to book with you. Go to the show notes of this episode. You will find a link so that you can schedule in with her. You can have a chat with her, or you can book right in as an appointment and just have a wonderful confidence building session with her. That will be one of the options, is a direct book in. If you want to go in and you want to take a deep dive and explore how other issues are impacting your life, I recommend that you sign up for the connection call instead, so that the two of you can chat and get to know one another and make sure that you're a great fit for one another, because I do that with all of my clients as well. It's very important in this process is to have that trust and level of comfort. Glenda, is there anything that you would like to add before we go for the day?
Oh, I'm really excited. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to jump on board and to be doing something that I'm quite excited to be doing. So thank you.
And I am totally excited to have you. If you would please, I would love it if you would head over to iTunes and leave a review for the podcast. Let me know what you loved about the podcast. Take a screenshot of it and tag me in Instagram, penny.chason. Joyful souls, that's where we all want to be. That's where we all deserve to live each and every day. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in today. I would love it if you would head over to iTunes and leave a positive review about how this episode has helped you to improve your life. When you leave a positive review, it helps us to reach even more people, helping them to change their lives. And that positive energy and vibration of sharing comes back to you as we spread the message of how you can use the power of intention, creating stronger subconscious beliefs and raising our vibration to create the life that we desire, the one that we're here to truly live so that we can fulfill our purpose in life. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.